be a bit of an own goal, not just fessing up when things like this happen.
Yes, but sort of understandable. As in, because you do want to investigate before you say anything, because you don't want to frighten people. Unfortunately, it then comes out because the people who were in your systems reveal it earlier than you would like to. I think, yes, I mean, it's clear, and it's clear from sort of what we've just heard from Sarah, that there was they handled it very badly, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And there are two aspects of that I think we might want to explore. The first is that it wasn't as bad as it could have been because they clearly have quite a good security model. They have circles of trust, so a customer service representative can only see limited amounts of data, and therefore even if their laptop was breached, it wasn't going to lead to a breach of the whole system. Nobody managed to escalate their privileges. And Okta could be quite open about that model and talk about it as something to be proud of, but far too often security professionals think that you don't talk about it because it might give the hackers a clue as to how you do things. And historically, security through obscurity has never really worked out, because someone always finds a way to discover what you're doing, but then you don't realise they've done it, and so it becomes a problem. But the other point is that you should never assume you can keep things like this quiet. This era of sort of not covering it up, but not coming clean quickly enough, caused great reputational damage, worried a lot of people, and it could have been handled so much better. And perhaps this is a lesson for other companies who even have minor breaches of security.
We all live and learn. Bill Thompson, thank you. Well, that's it for today. The studio manager is Duncan Hanantz. The producer is Anya Liktorovich. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the BBC World Service, where Clark Peters is bringing us the next episode of Black Music in Europe.
In episode 2, we'll be listening to the sounds of Black Europe at the end of the 1980s.
That was really something new for us.
The sound of Black Europe at this time was the sound of people forging their own culture for a new era of music and technology.
Black Music in Europe. Today at 10:30 and 21:30 GMT. And at bbcworldservice.com, people fixing the world.
We're looking at smart ideas in the battle against overfishing, from a banana-shaped sound device that's keeping dolphins away from fishing nets to a scientist who's designing a traffic light system for fish.
The documentary is next, here on the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
That's the sound of one of the fishing vessels in a fleet that's come from half a world away, setting off from Stanley Harbour in the Falkland Islands to catch squid. Fishing licence fees paid to the self-governing Falklands are part of the transformation of their fortunes since the Argentine invasion and the war 40 years ago this year.
We had to go from what was necessarily a standing start to somewhere that was, in a way, a forgotten part of the empire, to being, right, we've got our freedom, we've got our national opportunity to make a future for ourselves. What are we going to do with it?
Teslin Bachmann is one of the legislators I met when I travelled to the Falklands to see how life there has changed. Once so visibly British, the islands are today home to people of many nationalities. Join me, Mike Aldridge, for Counting Them In, after the news.
The Isles of the Sea.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The governor of Ukraine's northern Chernihiv region says Russian forces have continued to attack cities there, despite Moscow's promise of a drastic reduction in military activity in the area, as well as around Kyiv. Vyacheslav Chaus said they'd hit the regional capital, destroying civilian buildings. Ukraine's military says it's seen some individual Russian units withdraw from around Kyiv, but it suspects that's to redeploy them to the east. Steve Rosenberg in Moscow says Tuesday's peace talks may not be the breakthrough many had hoped.
Yes, Russia did say at those talks it would scale back its offensive near Kyiv as a goodwill gesture. But Russian troops had got bogged down there anyway, and certainly the suspicion is, as we've been hearing, that Moscow is simply regrouping and redirecting its army to carry on fighting elsewhere in eastern Ukraine and the south of the country. There was no ceasefire yesterday. The special military operation, as the Kremlin calls it, goes on. Everything we heard yesterday, it was basically Ukraine's proposals to Russia. What we didn't hear was Russia's response to all of that.
The BBC has learned that Syrian fighters are being offered $7,000 a month to fight on the front line for Russia in its war against Ukraine. One Syrian volunteer said he knew of at least 200 people who'd taken up the offer, saying they were doing it for the money, not ideological reasons. Germany has activated the first stage of its gas emergency plan to prepare for a potential disruption or stoppage of natural gas flow from Russia. The Economy Minister, Robert Habeck, urged businesses and individuals to reduce their energy consumption as much as possible. Damien McGuinness reports from Berlin.
The German government is preparing for the possibility that Moscow could cut off supplies of Russian gas to Germany. German Economy Minister Robert Habeck has announced a so-called early warning, the first of 3 levels of Germany's emergency plan for gas supplies. He said that so far there was no disruption in the delivery of Russian gas, but that Germany needed to be ready in case Russia turns off the taps. The move comes after Moscow called for gas to be paid for in rubles, not euros or dollars, as originally agreed.
A ceasefire has come into effect in Yemen after the Saudi-led coalition fighting the Houthi rebels said it would halt hostilities ahead of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan. The United Nations has urged the warring parties to engage with its peace efforts without preconditions as the war enters its 8th year. The UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grunberg, has addressed a conference on Yemen in the Saudi capital, Riyadh.
Yemenis want the war to end, and they want a just and durable peace. They want an immediate end to hostilities and measures to mitigate the impact of the conflict on civilians.
World News from the BBC. 2 senior British judges have resigned from Hong Kong's highest court after concluding that the imposition of strict national security legislation by Beijing made their presence untenable. The UK government has supported their position. One of the judges said they could not continue their work without appearing to endorse Hong Kong's departure from values of political freedom and freedom of expression. The state electricity company in Sri Lanka says daily power cuts will be extended from 7 to 10 hours because reservoirs for hydroelectric power stations are dangerously low. 40% of the island's electricity comes from hydro, and the lack of rains has exacerbated shortages caused by Sri Lanka's foreign exchange crisis. Lipika Pelham reports.
Sri Lanka has been battling a dire economic crisis and shortages of essential items. Its foreign currency reserves have fallen 70% since January 2020 due to the pandemic and the loss of tourism. The shortages forced the government to devalue its currency, which stalled imports of everyday commodities such as food, medicine and fuel. A sharp rise in prices and tension over scarcity of supplies led to sporadic violence in recent weeks. Earlier this month, there were protests at petrol stations and soldiers were deployed after 3 people died, queuing in sweltering heat.
The UN's Children's Agency says schools in 23 countries are still fully or partially closed following the coronavirus pandemic. It estimates almost 150 million children have missed at least half of their in-person schooling. The late Australian cricketer Shane Warne, regarded as one of the sport's greatest players, is being remembered in a state memorial service at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Mourners filled the stands, repeatedly chanting his nickname Warnie, before the ceremony began with Australia's national anthem. BBC News.
This is the Victorian-era Anglican Cathedral in Stanley, capital of the Falkland Islands.
As we meet to celebrate a very special day in the life of Her Majesty the Queen, the 70th anniversary of her accession to the throne.
The long-lasting link between the United Kingdom and these islands in the South Atlantic, nearly 13,000 kilometres away from Buckingham Palace.
Progress has been made in some of these areas, there must now be a fully funded and then concerted effort by all NHS trusts across England to ensure that these 4 pillars are the foundation, the roadmap and the blueprint of all maternity services going forward. Since the publication of our first report, the government has introduced a range of measures and invested very significantly in maternity and neonatal services across the country. This includes £127 million of funding announced last week. Much of this funding is for workforce expansion, improving training and improving culture in maternity services. NHS providers, as cited in the recent Health Select Committee report, has estimated the cost of full expansion of maternity services workforce to be between 200 million and 350 million, which is significantly more than has already been committed. We, the Independent Maternity Review Team, fully endorse and support this view. Our final report spans the period from 2000 to 2019. However, we are deeply concerned that families continue to contact the review team in 2020 and 2021, raising concerns about the safety of maternity care they have received at the Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital NHS Trust. Some of these recent families contacted us with reports they wanted to share with us. We haven't been able to include them fully within the review, but what we have seen is that the themes within their reports seem to echo concerns we have previously seen during this review. Seeing these repeated themes is a cause for grave concern. It is clear that there are a number of areas of maternity care where the Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital NHS Trust still has significant learning to undertake. As you may know, this review was commissioned by NHS Improvement at the request of the then Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, Jeremy Hunt MP, in 2017. The number of cases within this review grew from 23 and then to more than 1,000 families. It has previously been reported that this review was considering 1,862 family cases. However, after removing duplication of recording and excluding cases where there were unavailable hospital records or we could not get family consent for participation, the final number of families now included is 1,486. Some families had multiple clinical incidents, therefore a total of 1,592 clinical incidents involving mothers and babies have been reviewed. This includes a very early case from 1973 and the latest case from 2020. We now know that this is a trust that failed to investigate, failed to learn, and failed to improve. This resulted in tragedies and life-changing incidents for so many of our families. Our team have reviewed all clinical cases. Where we have found good practice, we have said that clearly in the report. However, my review team is concerned at the significant number of cases that fall into categories 2 and 3. These are cases graded as having significant, category 2, or major concerns, category 3, in the maternity care provided. When reviewing the stillbirths and neonatal deaths in the time period 2011 to 2019, the review team found that 40% of the stillbirths reviewed by us did not have a trust investigation. In the same period, 43% of the neonatal deaths reviewed by us had not had a trust investigation. You will all know that without investigation, we cannot understand what may have gone wrong, and we cannot learn. Without learning, we cannot improve maternity care for the future. I would now like to talk you through a timeline of some events at the Trust, and clearly this is described in greater detail in the report. Today, and with permission of our parents, I would first like to tell you about baby Olivia, who died shortly after her birth in 2002. Her mum repeatedly tried to raise concerns about failings at the Trust, hoping someone would do something. 4 years after Olivia's death, in 2006, her mum went on the This Morning show. Olivia's mum told me that over all those years raising concerns, she felt like a lone voice in the wind. At the same time as Olivia's mum was appearing on TV, other families also suffered the deaths of their babies, and only then did the Healthcare Commission review the Trust. It failed to take the necessary action. This was a missed opportunity for the Trust to learn. The external scrutiny of the Trust had clearly failed, And this is a theme that has been repeated again and again over many years. So many parents have told us they tried to raise concerns, but they were not listened to. Eventually, through the tremendous achievements of Rhiannon Davies and Richard Stanton and Kayleigh and Colin Griffiths, following the deaths of their daughters Kate and Pippa, Kate in 2009 and then Pippa in 2016, the required scrutiny has now taken place. The voices of families are now finally being heard. Our team want to highlight that in the 8 months before baby Kate died, there were 2 other incidents at the Trust where babies also lost their lives. These babies have been named in our report and will be named today with the permission of their parents. They were called baby Joshua and baby Thomas. In the case of baby Joshua in 2008, almost identical mistakes were made in his mother's care and in his care as those that were made in the care and treatment of baby Kate and her mother Rhiannon. With baby Thomas in 2009, there were gross failings in the care provided, and yet the Trust did not tell the truth to the family. The review team is particularly concerned by the lack of transparency internally within the Trust, as well as the lack of honesty and transparency shown to families. This is all the more concerning when it is clear that major issues in safety were apparent in both midwifery-led unit and consultant settings during the period leading up to the birth and death of Kate Stanton Davies, and before her, the birth and death of baby Joshua and then baby Thomas. Unfortunately, these cases were not isolated incidents, and through the time span of our review, we have found repeated errors in care which led to injury to either mothers or their babies. We have fully reviewed the cases of 12 mothers who lost their lives giving birth at the Trust. 75% of the cases of maternal death have been graded by our team as categories 2 and 3, with significant or major concerns in the care provided. Unfortunately, and overall, our report describes that a significant number of mothers and babies received care that fell way below the standards expected, and this continued throughout the whole period of the review. The review team has also found evidence of significant underreporting and cases that should have been investigated and were not. During the period this review looks at, we are aware of 8 external bodies who inspected, visited, assessed or checked upon the Trust. This was a Trust with significant problems, and whilst independent and external reports often indicated that the maternity service should improve its governance and investigatory procedures, this did not happen. The Trust was of the belief that its maternity services were good. They were wrong. The Trust's executive team and board had continual change and churn over the period of this review, with multiple different board chairs and chief executives over the time period we considered. This constant change led to an inability to deliver service improvement. The Trust board didn't have oversight and didn't have a full understanding of the issues and concerns within maternity services. This resulted in a lack of strategic direction, no effective change, and no development of accountable implementation plans. Our consideration of clinical governance processes and documents at the Trust has shown that investigatory processes were not followed to a standard that would have been expected for the particular time the incident occurred. Unfortunately, the review believes failings have persisted in some investigations as late as 2019 in the cases we considered as part of this review. Although independent and external reports consistently indicated that the maternity service should improve its procedures, governance and investigatory, this message was lost in a Trust which was struggling with other concerns. This meant that consistently throughout the review period, lessons were not learned, mistakes in care were repeated, and the safety of mothers and babies was unnecessarily compromised as a result. We spoke to staff members at the Trust, and documentary evidence also considered by the review team showed us that following serious incidents, there would be no follow-up from recommendations made. One staff member told us this wasn't just a maternity unit in chaos and under pressure, this was a whole organisation where it was difficult to find an area which was not under pressure. Another member of staff told us there was a republic of maternity, where often the maternity service seemed to consume its own smoke and didn't like having oversight by the corporate team. We are very concerned that in very recent weeks, staff currently working at the Trust have contacted the review team to express their concerns about maternity services at the Trust in the here and now. Staff have described to us that they were frightened to speak to the maternity review team and were advised by Trust managers not to participate in the Staff Voices initiative. One staff member said to us, and this is a message for the families, "I am sorry, and I know that sorry is not enough, but by engaging with this review, we hope that our voices will finally be acknowledged and that change will happen so that there are robust and independent places for clinicians to speak out, that acknowledge what we are saying, what needs changing, and that we act on this without fearing reprisals." Another said to us very recently, and by very recently I mean March 2022, "If I could say anything to the families, it would be that there were people who tried to make changes. We tried to escalate our concerns and be heard, but every process we used was set up not to acknowledge our voices or the problems we were highlighting. We were ignored and made out to be the problem, but ultimately we failed to make ourselves heard." I'm now going to turn to page 184 in the report, because I'd like to share with you just a couple of things that staff have told us in recent weeks. And in fact, this was added to the report in the very final days before printing. Section 1.32 will tell you how staff members described a clique on the labour ward at the Trust with a culture of undermining and bullying. Staff members described that this had negatively and seriously affected their mental health. Other staff members described that the behaviour experienced on the labour ward was so bad that they had difficulty finishing their shifts and cried secretly whilst in work. These staff declined for their direct quotes to be used because they were fearful of being identified. And section 1.35 on page 184 says, "A current staff member in maternity services at the Trust spoke to the review team in early 2022, but described themselves as fearful to do so. The staff member said, 'I really had to think very carefully about approaching the staff voices,' that's us, 'when we were told not to speak out. But I will do it and take the consequences because it is the right thing to do. I am clear that there is no support for those that speak up.'" The Trust has more than 60 local actions for learning arising from this final report. Our review team examined every area of maternity care at the Trust, including antenatal, intrapartum, labour, postnatal, neonatal, mothers who have died, and obstetric anaesthesia, and found that improvements were needed with staffing levels, training, investigations, and learning, as well as listening to families. In addition, we have actions for governance of maternity services at the Trust, as well as how it supports families, particularly the bereaved. In addition, the Trust must improve how it supports its own staff and ensures that staff can raise concerns without fear of reprisals. The Trust must also ensure they continue to make progress on the local actions for learning and immediate and essential actions from Report 1. This is a Trust with a significant amount of work to do to continually improve the safety of maternity care, with their own staff coming forward in the last few weeks to tell me they wanted assurance that the Trust would still be monitored very closely, and that, in the words of a current member of staff, the Trust must show real evidence of change, not just say in the press they have changed. Some of the key local actions for learning, and they are of course included in more detail in the report. Incidents must be graded appropriately with the level of harm recorded as the level of harm the patient actually suffered. Correct investigation processes, procedures and terminology must be used in line with the relevant NHS serious incident framework. All investigations must be undertaken by a multi-professional team of investigators and never by one individual or a single profession. In view of the relatively high number of direct maternal deaths, the Trust's current mandatory multidisciplinary team training for common obstetric emergencies must be reviewed in partnership with a neighbouring tertiary unit to ensure that training is fit for purpose. The Trust must adopt a consistent and systematic approach to risk assessment at booking and throughout pregnancy to ensure women are supported effectively and referred to specialist services where required. All clinicians at the Trust must work towards establishing a compassionate culture where staff learn together rather than apportioning blame. Staff must be encouraged to speak out when they have concerns about care. Can I please stress, these are not nice-to-haves or maybes, these are must-dos. It is recognised that many of the issues highlighted in this report are not unique to Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital NHS Trust, and they have been highlighted in national reports into maternity services in recent years. This is why the review team has also identified 15 immediate and essential actions which must be implemented by all trusts in England providing maternity services. These are focused on workforce funding, planning and sustainability, safe staffing, escalation and accountability, leadership, investigations of incidents and complaint handling, learning from the deaths of mothers, multidisciplinary training, complex antenatal care, preterm, labour and birth at term, obstetric anaesthesia, postnatal care, bereavement care, neonatal care, and supporting families. What is essential is that the process of investigation, learning and service change from maternity incidents is independently chaired, and changes must be introduced into clinical practice within 6 months of an incident occurring. No longer should families have to chase for the results of investigations. That is not your job to do. There must be a reasonable time frame on learning and practice change when clinical incidents occur. It is absolutely clear that there is an urgent need for a robust and funded England-wide maternity workforce plan, starting right now without delay and continuing over multiple years. This is essential to address the present and future requirements for midwives, obstetricians, anaesthetists, neonatal teams and equipment, and all the associated staff working in and around maternity services. Without this very significant multi-year investment, maternity services cannot provide safe and effective care for women and babies. This plan must also focus on significantly reducing the attrition of midwives and doctors, those who leave, since increases in workforce numbers are of limited use if those already within the workforce continue to leave. This is best explained as you can't fill a bath with the plug out. Clearly, if midwives and doctors continue to leave our maternity services and we do not improve working conditions for maternity teams, there is very little benefit in continually recruiting more staff. To harness the learning from this report and bring together other learnings from across the maternity system, a working group independent of the Maternity Transformation Programme that has joint Royal College leadership, including midwives and obstetrics and gynaecology, anaesthetists, the Obstetric Anaesthetist Association, plus paediatrics and child health, must now be set up. The remit of this group must be to guide the Maternity Transformation Programme around implementation of our IEA's immediate and essential actions and the recommendations of other reports currently being prepared. This investment and work must be progressed at pace and continued for as long as necessary to ensure that no other family experiences the many tragedies described in our report. Only with a robustly funded, well-staffed and well-trained workforce can families and government be able to expect consistent delivery of safe and compassionate maternity care locally and across England. Thank you for listening to me today. Thank you.
Welcome to Gabby Dave Global. We are a UK-based online e-commerce store, the first of its kind with license to trade in African products. Some of the products are clothing brands and all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse, making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe.
SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Prum Prum Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of digging the hole of darkness.
So what did that?
Myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world.
In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile. If you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and The Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Say it go happen, as God say it go do then if I no say it go happen, it go happen, it go happen. If I no say it go happen.
Okay, yes, it go happen, whatever the situation is. And this how I welcome you to the Starr Radio UK Wednesday edition of the morning show. Today is the 30th day of March, the year 2022, and the time now 10:39 from the hearts of London. Share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. Once again, let me say a massive welcome to the show. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is the morning Archie.
Well, let me say good morning to my colleagues, Mr. Frank Davis, Mr. Olayomi, Kojo D. Felix, hey, I hope you are doing very well, sir. Mr. Kofi Ali Abdul Yakin, I salute you. And let me say good morning to the able producer, Mr. Francis Guy. And also to all our listeners across the globe. From the Americas to the Europe to Asia to Australia and to the African continent, to my Nigerian listeners, Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Gambia, and to the Ugandans. Chiso Radio, I salute you all. I hope you are all doing very well. Okay, continue to keep your dials locked on Starr Radio UK. Something being played by Nana Manuel says it go happen. If God has said it, then definitely it go happen. So hold on to some faith there, right? Okay, so let's crack on. For the Wednesday edition of the morning show, this is how it goes. I'll bring you the quote for the day, the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel update will continue from there. We'll move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as the Global Trot-In. Then exactly at 11 o'clock, we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki joining in to bring you updates from Nigeria. Then we'll continue from there, have a look at some of the other stories making the rounds. At 11:30, thereabout we'll be opening the lines. Then at 12 o'clock, we'll bring the first part of the program to a close, where we'll cross over to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's question time. Then after that, at 1 o'clock, the curtains are brought down for the end of the program. So in a gist, that's what's going to be happening today. But once again, welcome. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Starr Radio UK is here, and Archie is here, and therefore happiness is what? Near. All right then. Let me say morning to Mr. David Kluche. Dr. Martin, good morning to you. My brother Kwame Chale Inwohe. Try me in man yeah. I hope you are doing very well in the family as well. Okay, let's move on. Time for the one at a time. The quote for the day says, if you want to know why you are where you are today, just recall what you thought of and did yesterday. Now, if you want to know where or why you are where you are today, just recall what you thought of and did yesterday. It all have culminated in where you are today. So what about that? Do you think that looking back, you say, I did good? If not, then improve it. All right, then. So that's by way of the quote for the day. Now let's move on straight to the weather front. Well, we're going to be seeing some cold nights now. Though we thought that we were in spring and things were changing. However, the weather, the temperatures have plummeted once again. Well, today here in London and the southeast of England, we'll be seeing this afternoon will be mostly overcast with a band of patchy rain gradually moving in from the north, a touch colder compared to the previous day. Now tonight, the band of rain will continue to sink further south. The rain will turn a little wintry over the hills on the back edge before largely clearing to the southeast around dawn. It's gonna be cold. Okay, the temperature is going to be 11 degrees, the lowest is going to be 3 degrees. UV level is going to be low, pollen level low, pollution low. Sunset 19:30 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 06:41 hours. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast for you today. The 30th day of March. It's the day that the president of Ghana is delivering the State of the Nation's address. What do you think? Those of you who hail from Ghana or who are mindful of what goes on in Ghana or who have business interests in Ghana, what do you think he's going to be saying? Well, they managed to find ways and means to push the e-levy bill through Parliament. Well, but the opposition are saying we're going to be challenging it. This and a lot more going to be coming your way there, though, when it comes to the stories making the rounds. So stay tuned, don't you go away. Okay, we'll take a quick break and then bring you the travel update. We'll be having the rest of that music coming your way, but stay tuned.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check it out. This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, I'll keep you navigated. I promise I'll be on the Starr Radio travel update that comes your way every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:44. So what is your travels like this morning? All those of you on the underground here in London, this is what we have for you. Well, second line has got minor delays due to signal failure in Sloane Square area. And then the district line has also got minor delays between Tower Hill and Ealing Broadway, Richmond and Wimbledon westbound, only due to a signal failure in the Sloane Square area as well. Then the Metropolitan line has also got minor delays between Moore Park and Watford due to train cancellations. Good service on the rest of the line. But keep your eyes on the roads, Now, on the Northern line, as we said, until mid-May, there are part closures, so check if you have to travel on that line. But that aside, all the others have got good service. But keep your eyes on the roads, I'll keep you navigated, I promise, our bond. Now moving on straight to the river bus. The river bus, I can tell you today assuredly that as Frank was saying that they needed to sue them. Well, today all the river bus services, City Cruises, RB1, RB2, RB4, RB6, Thames River Services, and Woolwich Ferry are all in good service. Okay, let's look at the major roads in London. Let me tell you what is happening on that front as well. Well, on the major roads in London, the A roads, now A1 has got a closure, A316 closure, A4 closures there as well. Now Blackwall Tunnel has also got closures. Now Central London Red Routes, closures there as well. So please check before you leave. But continue to keep those eyes on the road. Now moving on to the final segment of the travel update, that is the National Rail. Now Cross Country has got special service, Gatwick Express special service, Great Northern special service, Island Line special service, Southern special service, and Transport for Wales has also got what? Special service. And that is where I bring the update to a close. So let me say it once again. Well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the road.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
It go happen. If I no say it go happen, as God say it go do then if I no say it go happen, it go happen, it go happen. If I no say it go happen, as God say it go do then if I no say, everybody say it go happen, it go happen. Certainly, if I no say it go happen, as God say it go do then if I no say it go happen, it go happen, it go happen, it go happen. If I no say it go happen, yeah. Say you do one more time. Say it go happen, it go happen, it go happen. If I don't say it go happen, everybody. As God say you do one, then if I don't say it go happen, it go happen, it go happen. Certainly. If I don't say it go happen, yeah. As God say you do one, then if I don't say it go happen. Some trust in horses, others trust in chariots, but we have your name, oh Lord. Have faith in God, lean not on your own understanding. I take it again. Some trust in horses, others trust in chariots, but we have your name, oh Lord. Have faith in God, lean not on your own understanding. One more time, hey. Have faith in God, lean not on your own understanding. 1, 2, everybody say it go happen. It go happen, it go happen. If I don't say it go happen, certainly. If I say it go happen, if I don't say it go happen, it go happen, it go happen, it go happen. Certainly. If I don't say it go happen, if I say it go happen.
Well, it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And I'm saying massive good morning to Regina Enima Empress all the way in Ghana. Yes, I hope you are enjoying the nice hot weather there. But why is now time for Global Trotting? Well, when it comes to Nigeria, some of the stories that we're going to be looking at. The FIFA doctor dies after furious Nigerian fans storm pitch in sickening scene after failing to qualify for the World Cup. Well, we'll be talking more about that. The incident came, okay, and then we have some other postings from Sowore. And I will tell you more about that. Says a regime hatred for a section of Nigerians. The 5% that didn't vote for him in the southeast is abhorrent, unconscionable. Lawless DSS wrote this memo to ask the mannequin to not attend the Nigeria-Ghana match, falsely claiming IPOB was planning to bomb the stadium. Oh my goodness. All right then. So listen to Star Radio UK. Some coming your way from Nigeria. So at 11 o'clock when we have Miss Online, but now let's move on to some of the stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Let's start from Ghana as well. Well, minority are saying that we had a quorum to pass the e-levy, but majority insists that, hey, majority are insisting that they had a quorum to pass the e-levy. Minority are saying that you didn't have. We are proceeding to the Supreme Court for a hearing there. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? Well, they had said in the past that they were definitely going to do that. But today, the president of Ghana is also delivering the State of the Nation address. Now, with all the hardship and things that is going on, what do you think he can say? The President Kufuor today deliver an address on the State of the Nation to Parliament a day after the electronic transaction levy was passed. The event is expected to be held in the Chamber of Parliament at 10 a.m. Because we are ahead of them, so any moment from now, they will start that event. The sessional address, which is pursuant to Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, was postponed because the President was unable to deliver it on March the 3rd. The address will help set out the government policy objectives and deliverables for the year ahead. Well, but the government is saying, look, we are so broke. We are so broke. Now, you know, when they were campaigning to come to power, he was saying that, well, we had lots of money and we are impoverished. So, well, where are all the wealth? Yes. Zunguman would say, where is the dollar? Okay. So, we'll be looking into that story as well. So, coming your way from Star Radio UK. And, well, for football fans as well, those who didn't know, Ghana managed to qualify by an away goal. Aggregate to beat Nigeria for the World Cup 2022. Qatar 2022, right? Okay, then moving on straight to other stories making the rounds as well. DR Congo, M23 rebels shoot down MONUSCO helicopter. That is a big one. That's a big one.
Some trust in horses, others trust in chariots, but we have your name, oh Lord.
So coming away from Star Radio UK, moving on straight to other stories making the rounds there as well.
Understanding. I take it again. Some trust in horses, others trust in chariots, but we have your name, oh Lord.
And when it comes to the UK front, repeated failures led to mother and baby's death. Now, some 201 babies may have died at an NHS trust because of unprecedented failures, says a report. Who are going to be held culpable for that? Interesting. And MPs come out as trans and speaks of rape ordeal. Jamie Wallace opened up about being victim of rape and blackmail and fleeing scene of a crash. Well, those are some of the stories making the rounds here in the UK. Now, when it comes to the world front, intense attacks in East Ukraine as Russia regroups forces. And Moscow has said it will refocus its war, but Ukrainian officials are skeptical of a full pull back from Kyiv. Well, this all coming away from Star Radio UK. 10:56 the time. The morning show, the program. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only Archie.
Listen. Oh, yo, nyamia undiatro. Oh, yo, nyamia undiamod.
Okay, enjoy the rest of that music, and then once we come back, we'll be having Miss Olayomi Koiki joining in to bring you all that you need to know when it comes to Nigeria. By update from Nigeria, let me say good morning to Amaya Jirgini and to Tassino all the way in Moscow, and all you guys who join us each day. I salute each and every one of you.
Some trust in horses, others trust in chariots, but we have your name, oh Lord. Have faith in God, lean not on your own understanding. faith in God. Lean not on your own understanding. One more time, hey. Have faith in God.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Are you ready to turn it up?
You are listening to Starr Radio.
It gon' happen. Certainly. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Hold on, hold on. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Oh, trust in God.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
You gon' see, you gon' see, it gon' shock you. Alright, let's do this part. It says, why alright, say, why
This is Starr Radio UK.
The best radio show.
UK-based online e-commerce store, the first of its kind with license to trade in African products. Some of the products are clothing brands and all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse, making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe.
All over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medase.
Welcome back to the program. It is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time now to 4 minutes past the top of the hour. Now that's 4 minutes past 11 here in London. If it's in Ghana, it's 4 minutes past 10. And therefore, they will be proceeding to the State of the Nation's address there in the Ghanaian Parliament. Wow. But at the moment, as we're waiting for Mr. Olayomi Koiki to join in, let me once again say good morning to Amaya Jirgene. Hope you are doing very, very well. Kaduna Abuja train attack. Buhari National Assembly governors demand tough action. Survivors recount ordeal. Now, what tough actions have the citizens of Nigeria not called for? And what have we seen? People being abducted, people being kidnapped, ransom being paid here and there, people don't have the money, people being killed, and all that stuff. So you ask yourself, is it something new? Is it something extraordinary that is even happening? Because worse things than this are happening. Lives being lost. I mean, the other time they had about 70 people who were killed. So you look at all those things and you ask yourself, whoa, what is going on there? Well, villages being taken over. Well. We're going to be looking more into that as we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki getting ready to come on. All right then. But let's look at whilst we're waiting for Mr. Olayomi Koiki to get on. Let me be touching on some of the other stories because you know it's a Wednesday edition of the morning show, so we'll not have too much time to be deliberating on all these issues. Some other stories from Ghana as well. The Supreme Court will on Tuesday, April the 5th, make a determination on its earlier decision ordering James Gyekye Quayson, Member of Parliament, to file his response to an interlocutory injunction seeking to stop him from performing his parliamentary duties. Now, this was after lawyers of the MP had moved a review application after the 7-member panel of the Apex Court had said he was duly notified of the pendency of the case. On March 16, the hearing of the injunction filed by Michael Ankama Nimfa, a private citizen, against the Asen North MP from performing his parliamentary duties was blocked with two motions, a review application against the court ruling on March 8 and a stay of proceedings there as well. So someone is asking the question, is that what gave the ruling government the chance to pass the e-bill? Did they actually form a quorum? Well, we're going to be looking at that. But whilst we get Mr. Olayomi Koiki ready to join in, we will be looking at what Parliament passes e-levy despite minority boycott. Well, we'll be bringing you more on that. Should the minority have stayed? Well, they might have said that if they stayed, they will lose because of maybe numbers there, but just boycotting it has given them the opportunity to do what they want to do. But what do you think about all that? It's all coming your way from Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Wednesday morning, 7 minutes past 11. And let me say good morning to you, Yomi.
Well, it is a very good morning to you back in the studio. Good morning to all our listeners, our viewers from around the globe, and welcome once again to Star Radio UK, the Wednesday edition. And I know it's a very, very short time, but quite a lot of conversation, especially coming out of Nigeria this morning.
Yes. How are you doing, sir?
Well, we're doing very well as usual. We're back on again, getting ready for Niger Voices. It's going to be a very interesting one to discuss, but we will kickstart, this morning. It's a very beautiful weather out there, quite bright and sunshine, but I'm not sure it is a sunshine one for so many Nigerians back home, especially with a lot of news that we are now getting of the crime scene, that we can call it the Abuja attack. You would have thought that was enough until yesterday there was another attack on that same line.
Wow. Okay, we'll be bringing you more on that. Anthony Adedeji, good morning to you. I hope you are doing very, very well. Now, interestingly, let's start it from that incident yesterday when we had information coming through about this bombing that took place on the rail tracks between Kaduna and Abuja. And then we thought, okay, we weren't sure how many people have lost their lives there. And then those who have been hurt and where they've been taken to, we weren't sure because we didn't even have any pictures of the scene itself. Now, can you give us a description of what actually happened, or if you have had some pictures or videos of the scene?
Well, yes, images are coming out. Numbers of people that have died is also now, coming as well.
Okay, listeners, just bear with us. Yeah. Yomi, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, now. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah. Good. Good.
Filtering through. Yes, the numbers of people so far that we know, according to the Kaduna State government, that have also, have the manifest of how many of the people that were traveling on that particular train. I believe about 16 people have been confirmed, dead at the moment, and likewise, we do know. Let me just, get that information, and that quite a lot of numbers of people are also at the 44 military hospital, where also the vice president arrived in there yesterday. From the information from the Kaduna State government, condemns the terrorist attack on the Kaduna-Abuja train that occurred on the 28th of March. Kaduna State government wishes to express its sympathy with all the passengers, extend its condolence to the families of the passengers that died in the attack, and wishes the injured a speedy recovery as well. In terms of the total numbers of people that have died, and likewise the total number of people that have been affected, also we are now getting images of people that have also been affected, and I believe I might be able to maybe just give us some of those that we have already. These 3 individuals died. They are lawyers, as well as also we saw trade union members died as well. So what a very sad one. We saw a young doctor that only resigned last month. She was meant to be traveling out of Nigeria, from the information that we gathered, this particular, Friday, which is about 72 hours. But she actually tweeted from the train that she was being shot. But to surprise, so many Nigerians were mocking her. Some even say that as a Biafra, what was she doing on that particular route? But not knowing that she was somebody that was working in Kaduna as a doctor before, she died on that particular train. Missing numbers of people. Also, information that is reaching us as well says, one of the MD of the, Agric, the MD of the Ministry of Agric is also missing. There was a former deputy governor of Kaduna State on that particular train. So you can imagine mixed bags of different people on that particular train. But what we can confirm is almost close to 16 people have been confirmed dead. Numbers of people that are missing so far is still uncountable for. And a lot of people are still at the 44 military hospital, at Gerard Hospital in Abuja, in Kaduna, that are receiving treatment as we speak right now. So I come back again to you in the studio.
Yeah, interesting one there. I'm looking at the statement that somebody made when that lady doctor, who has also lost her life, tweeted that she's been shot at. And then people were saying, what is an Igbo person doing on that track, that place? So I wanted to find out if the killings was along the lines of tribal, was it tribal lines, or it was just...
Well, it wasn't even a tribal line. Apparently, what we could say is, it's still this hatred, for a particular tribe that played out there. Where, yes, it was not just the people from the north, that responded back on her. We also saw somebody from the Yoruba, which have also have the evidence to that. But it was more of the people from the northern part of the country that believe that from quote unquote owns the country. And when she tweeted out that she was being shot, some were even asking if she could send the image of other passenger that has also been shot while she was asking for a kind of an emergency. So you can imagine now that this is now playing out to the question and the minds of millions of Nigerians whether there's ever going to be unity among Nigerians, or this kind of a progressive Nigeria that we all look up to in the last 61 years. And this still goes back again to whether those that want to be out of Nigeria can still remain in a country where people have been locked into it. So this, it's going to create a lot of conversation for a very long time. But like I said, the young, doctor, I'm trying to get a name, that also died, indicate, this is how Dr. Chinelo, working in the St. Gerard Hospital in Kaduna. She was actually working in Kaduna, even though she's an Igbo, background, but worked in Kaduna. But she resigned from what we told. She was meant to be traveling out of the country, but she never made it. This was her last tweet before she died. I am in the train. I have been shot. Please pray for me. But it doesn't look like that went down with some other ethnic groups from the northern part, and like I said, some few from the Yoruba that responded to her in a very negative way. And those that responded to her are those that also have this kind of sympathy for the government of the day.
It's sad. It's very, very sad, because you can't say that somebody, I'm a Nigerian, I can go anywhere in Nigeria, I can do transact. So far as within the laws of Nigeria, I should be allowed to do that. Somebody's working there, somebody is being injured and calling for help, and that's what people react to. Well, when people are calling that maybe they want to leave, then you get the reason why they want to do so. But it is Starr Radio. Okay, now we have the president, what do you call him? The president, National Assembly, governors demanding tough actions. Now, what tough actions? We know that was it a couple of weeks ago or months ago? Let me call it that way. When they came to say that, well, all these bandits should now be termed as terrorists. Now, what have they done? People have now come to bomb a whole track to, derail a train and kill people. So what about that?
Well, you're quite right. I was listening to the former senator at the 8th Assembly, Shehu Sani, that is also was representing, Kaduna, before he was not allowed to come back, for that position. And these are conversations that have always been at the back of these particular, minds of millions of Nigerians. What has been the security of lives of properties? Remember that only on Saturday there was, these particular, what we can call the attack on the airport.
Yeah.
So what people are saying is, it looks like that was, and that's the face of the young Chinelo that was, killed. That's her face there, that we just brought on the timeline for those that probably would like to see what she looks like. May her soul rest in peace, and likewise, those that have also died in that particular, incident. So, what actually happened was, the question in the minds of many Nigerians now is, are we safe? And in terms of the billions of dollars that have been spent, for security-wise, what more can be done? The government did change, after a lot of pressure, for keeping the same service chief for a very long time. Maybe those were compromised before the new ones, or the new ones are just trying to get the hang of what is actually happening. But again, millions of Nigerians around the world have reacted, to what actually happened at the Kaduna. But only yesterday there was another attack again. Yes, there was an emergency meeting between the president and his service chiefs, and we will have to see and wait what next, in this current situation. And we got to continue to remember that Nigeria still, this image will still continue to go back out. Not even the one from the football. We're talking about the terrorist attack yesterday. This was a bomb attack, like I said, we experienced something similar in 2005 here in UK when we saw, the bombing of different places,
the 7-7.
Between, the London transport.
Yeah.
But what was, the difference there was, in under 48 hours, the MI5, the British security were able to pinpoint quickly who they are in terms of security, CCTV. When Amechi was asked yesterday, the transport minister, after visiting that particular location, what happened to that security route? What happened to that? There was security on the train with armed, but they were overpowered. So I come back again to you in the studio because I know of time constraint this morning, but there'll be more conversation on this later on Niger Voices at exactly 1800 hours.
Wow. Listeners, if you are listening to us and you hail from this part of the world, Nigeria, with all these concerns, do you feel comfortable traveling on the rail? I mean, using the railway at all? Do you feel comfortable using that now? Do you think that people are going to, now some groups are also now going to be plotting to do that? But has any group accepted responsibility for this attack?
Well, we know that it's the terrorist attack. I mean, there's no doubt about that, and everybody believes and knows that what actually happened is a terrorist attack, and they haven't come out to say we've done it, but maybe within the next couple of days, with the passengers that were taken away out of the train, there will be more negotiation and ransom to be paid as well. But we will have to wait and see. But like I said, this is still the same, terrorist ISWAP activities that have endangered the lives of millions of Nigerians, and they continue to do so.
Okay, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Mr. Olayomi in our North London studios. I'm Archie here in the studios in the south. Now, Amayo says, what Nigerians need now is discussion of Nigeria either to stay together or disintegrate. Of course, we've talked about that at length. I mean, if you think that you're going about your duties or your business and you end up dying or being kidnapped and you have to go find some money, I mean, what kind of life do you think you are having or you have? Well, now let's move on to a statement that Sowore posted, and it's quite an interesting one, and it pertaining to some information that the DSS gave, saying that the IPOB were planning to come and bomb the stadium where yesterday the match between the Green Eagles and Ghana Black Stars took place, and therefore stop people from the Yoruba and the Igbo area from coming in. What is all that about?
Well, again, you wonder whether you did talk about whether there's a tribal line being played, by the Nigerian government to pin, a particular tribe because of, a demand for self-determination, like the Biafra are doing. Already, we know that this government kidnapped and rendition Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya back to Nigeria. Is in their custody, and they're running away from their court to proceed with a court case on him. 15 count charges has been labeled on him. He's saying that in 2017, the reason why he had to run away from his house was because the military was trying to invade his house. So coming back to this, memo that came out from the Department of State Service, and I have it here, and it says the Directorate of the Road Traffic Services, imminent threat of explosive attack on the MKO Abiola National Stadium by the IPOB. Intelligence available to service and indicate imminent attack on the MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, by the members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, using a prime improvised explosive device on the 29th. The president was meant to attend this particular event, and we do know, all over the world, presidents are well protected, and intelligent must be, to be sure. So I'm not sure where the DSS got the intel from, but whatever the intel, they have to go along with it to make sure, the lives of properties and civilians are safe, and likewise the life of the president, should it be that the president had the intention to visit it. But the question now that a lot of Nigerians are asking is, how come they've not been able to pick up on other intelligence, like the one that occurred within the Kaduna train network, within the one of the Kaduna International Airport. 2 incidents occurred yesterday after the 24 hours of the one that occurred, on the 28th. Yesterday there was another attack on that same particular Kaduna Expressway. That means the roads that were traveling on the road were also attacked. So this now comes back to what intelligent gathering do we have in Nigeria to protect the lives of millions of Nigerians? But like I said, whatever the intelligence that was available in the view of this football match between Ghana and Nigeria, that eventually Nigeria lost out as well, and there was another chaos that we saw the video that is already in circulation on the social media. This is Star Radio UK. I'll come back again to you in the studio.
Yes, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, on a Wednesday edition of the updates from Nigeria on Star the morning show. Now, 11:23, I'm going to go back to him so that I can bring up all the other stories. Okay, now a quick one. The doctor that died, a FIFA doctor who died during yesterday's encounter between Ghana and Nigeria. What actually happened?
Well, it was only this morning that the news filtered out from Abuja of the CAF doctor that died during the whole trouble. He slumped and died from what we are told, and this is the message that is now gone around the world. I've seen one of the British paper that have also talked about it. So let's look at what we know. Doctor dead. A FIFA doctor died after furious Nigeria fans stormed the pitch in a sickening scene after failing to qualify for the World Cup. That is the headline from the Sun newspaper, which tells you that the story is already on the international forum at the moment. The fans stormed the pitch at the Abuja National Stadium after Nigeria failed to qualify for this year's tournament, smashing up their own arena in a shocking scene. Dr. Joseph Kabungo passed away while working at the World Cup qualifier between Nigeria and Ghana. For what we know, the Zambia FA confirmed Dr. Joseph Kabungo, who was acting as a doping officer at the game for the Confederation of the African Football, had passed away while working. A statement from the Football Association of Zambia joins the rest of the football family in mourning the late Dr. Joseph Kabungo. What a very sad one coming from Nigeria again yesterday in a very ugly scene, like I can call after watching the video of the invasion of the pitch.
A very sad and disgraceful scene there. But we hope that to the family, with our condolences, and to all the football fraternity, yes, our condolences as well. And we say may he rest in perfect peace. But now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds. Over to you, sir.
Well, again, the headline today is still focused on the Kaduna Abuja train, terrorist attack. Kaduna Abuja train attack. Buhari, National Assembly governors demand tough actions. Survivors recount their ordeal. The vice president was in Kaduna, being welcomed by the governor of Kaduna, El Rufai, yesterday. EFCC arrest FBI wanted Nigerian Chidebere in Olu. Nigerian versus Ghana confusion as CAF doctors collapse dies after fans invaded the MK Abiola Stadium. Kaduna train attack. I warn that lives will be lost, says Amechi. Let's look on that because that is if he's warning that life will be lost, is the Minister for Transportation. What measures did they put through to make sure that life won't be lost? The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, has disclosed that he warned about possible attacks on the rail line and tracks that could lead to loss of lives and property before the Abuja-Kaduna terror attack that claimed lives on Monday. To prevent this, the minister noted that he had requested for necessary digital security and crime prevention equipment that could forestall such disaster, but was not approved. Who did not approve these? Why was it not approved? If you have a train track that is meant to be taking passengers in their numbers and ease the pressure on the road, then how come nobody approved the right equipment, the surveillance tools to protect millions of Nigerians? Until now, we saw that more Nigerians have died in that particular incident. It was briefing to journalists after visiting the scene of the incident yesterday. The minister expressed dissatisfaction over the incident, which he claimed could have been averted with a relevant digital security equipment in place. According to him, we knew what the problem would be. We knew we needed to have digital security equipment. We applied for it. He said, because if we had those equipment, you will see nobody on the track. I wonder life will be lost. Already, they're already putting the cost of what happened at about 3 billion naira rather. So let me touch quickly one or two more, then come back because of the time constraint this morning. A lady dies in Abuja hotel. Brother accused management of cover-up and slams police. A very sad news again coming out of Nigeria. A 21-year-old Esther Isaac has died in an hotel in the Federal Capital Territory. The victim reportedly lodged in the room 901 on February 25th, 2022 at Agege Hotel in Gwarimpa area of the FCT. Her brother Emmanuel, who spoke to a correspondent on Tuesday, accused the police of compromising the case. He claimed that the men of the Federal Capital Territory humiliated him for following up on the matter. I'm going to come back to you again in the studio, but like I said, later on tonight, we will discuss a lot when it comes to who should protect lives. If an equipment that is meant to protect life was not allowed to be applied for, I would have thought that would have been part of the, when they were putting the structure for the train services, which could have been, added to the value of whatever the cost of the security around that as well. This is Starr Radio UK. It is your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. I come back now to you in the studio.
Well, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koike bringing you updates from Nigeria, but that's a sad story that's making the rounds there. Now, if this minister did ask, cautioned and asked that, look, I need this equipment, so we needed to approve it, and government failed to do that, I hope that the presidency are going to come out to either apologize to the people that they failed to protect them, because it's a very, very sad. Because this is a situation where if you are driving on the road, the day Saturday this happened, then come yesterday there was an attack on the roads as well. So how do people travel? Because when people travel or move about, that's when they're transacting business, and the government can get the tax to do whatever they want to do with the country. But with what is happening, it is a very, 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 very big issue.
News is just coming through as well. The Deeper Life pastor, identified as Pastor John Aja, was said to have been killed yesterday morning by suspected elders while on his way to the local government headquarters at Kapinja to attend a religious function.
As some say, may Nigeria never happen to you. But before we go,
well, tonight it's going to be who should be held responsible for the security of lives and property. What would be the reaction of if your family send you a tweet to say I'm in danger? What will you do? Who do you call? All these will be part of the conversation tonight at Niger Voices. You don't want to miss that at exactly 1800 hours on Starr Radio UK. And we might be taking calls as well to get the gauge of our listeners from around the world. And on that note, we continue to pray for the loss of lives of every single innocent person that have been affected, on that particular route, be it the 3 that we know, or those that we don't know, or be it the innocent doctor that was only trying to save lives before a life was taken away by Nigeria. Just as so many lives have been done before, like this young girl was taken away from us, at the Lagos bus transport known as the BRT. She died in the hands of Nigeria. She was also killed by the DSS in the southeast of the country. She was also killed during the peaceful rally that was held in Lagos. And on that note, I say very good morning. Don't touch the dial, because Archie will be taking you straight through to the QM question time as we continue to monitor the activities of what is happening in Ukraine and Russia and the impact on those of us outside those regions.
Okay, Yomi, thank you very much, and then we'll catch up later.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Well, listeners, that was Mr. Olayomi Koike bringing you updates from Nigeria. But Amaya has posted something on our Facebook. He says, killing. Are you not tired? Break it now. Revolution now. Referendum now. Yoruba nation now. And it goes on further to say, who is next with tears emoji in tears there as well. It's a very, very sad story. Do you go on the what means of transport do you have, or do you have to now be so scared and decide to stay in your own compound or in your own state? You don't go transact any business elsewhere, but yet we call it a country. Oh my goodness. Well, what do you think about all that? Star Radio UK, 11:33 the time. We'll be taking you to the House of Parliament in the next 27 minutes. So it's now time for us to just crack on with it. Now, but let me open the lines. If you want to chip in, the 0208-133-2257 or 58. 0208-133-2257 or 58. If you happen to be in the US or Canada or the Caribbean area, it is 001-718-303-2737. 001-718-303-2737. You can also text or WhatsApp as 075-396-61744. 075-396-617. For our Twitter handle is at Star Radio UK and email address is info@starradiouk.com. All right then. Now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds. As I said earlier on, well, the e-levy has been passed in Ghana. The controversial e-levy has been passed by a one-sided parliament after minority members boycotted proceedings and staged a walkout. The minority walked out when the bill was at the consideration stage. The minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, who spoke before his side moved out, maintained their opposition to the bill. The finance minister, who is in the House, has moved for an amendment of the percentage of the bill from 1.75 to 1.5. Now, the Speaker, Algon Gbagbe, said he was ready for the consideration stage to continue despite the minority walkout. Meanwhile, gravely ill chieftaincy Minister Alexander Kojo has been ferried to Parliament in an ambulance to assist in passing the controversial electronic transfer levy. That was yesterday, which I did say whilst we were on air. The majority in the House has had challenges with numbers to pass the e-levy. The member of Parliament for Domekwa Benya Sarah Dwasafo has been out of the House some weeks, as well as the Ahanta West Member of Parliament Alexander Kojo, who doubles as the chieftaincy minister, had also been sick. But well, he was ferried to the chambers to come and vote as well. This is all coming away from Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. But well, it's all happening now. The president delivering his State of the Nation's address to Ghanaians. Okay. From tomorrow, we'll try to bring you some of the full list of the e-levy transactions. Well, there are some details there. I'll be bringing that to you. But let me bring you a sneak view of what the president has been saying. It's saying that the President Kufuor is delivering the 2022 State of the Nation address in Parliament. The president is highlighting policies his government is taking to restore the Ghanaian economy to normalcy. It is expected that the president will also shed light on the 1.5 electronic transaction, that's the e-levy, passed by a majority-sided Parliament on Tuesday. The President Kufuor was supposed to have addressed the nation on March 3. However, it was rescheduled. Okay, but he is doing that today. We will bring you more on what he said. Any changes there by tomorrow, God willing. Okay, but now let's move on to some other backlash from the passing of that bill from the various sides. Well, a former member of Parliament for Kumbungu constituency, Ras Mubarak, has accused the leadership of the minority of failing to deploy its parliamentary prowess to prevent the passage of the electronic transaction bill. Now, the legislator in a Facebook post on Tuesday said the minority had no excuse to galvanize its members into the chamber to vote on the passage of the levy, particularly when the majority managed to bring in a seriously ill Ahanta West MP, Ebenezer Kojo, to participate in the passage of the levy. On a day where it mattered the most, leadership failed, and that is what they will be remembered by when the history of the shambolic spectacle is written. If the MPP was so determined to the point of wheeling a seriously ill MP in an ambulance to vote, the NDC had no excuse not exhausting legitimate parliamentary procedure to get its members or its member into the chamber to vote, he said in his Facebook post. So why did other members of the opposition not attend proceedings? Why did they come to the chamber to vote? Everyone knows that the NPP is horrible, but that's why you need a serious opposition to hold their balls by the fire and not make them get away with the kind of horrendous things they are getting away with in Parliament, he added. Meanwhile, the minority had accused the majority caucus of smuggling into the other paper the consideration of controversial electronic transaction levy. According to the Tamale South MP Haruna Idrisu, e-levy was not listed in Parliament's business statement for this week. And that's why they think that they didn't marshal all their forces to be in to vote or address this issue. But well, they managed to pass it. And at the moment, we have the opposition now saying that they are proceeding to the courts to seek redress. Now, what do you think about that? What do you think is going to happen on that front? Well, it is all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, the chairman of the NDC, Ofusu Ampofo, said that, well, they will use the power of the thumb to remove Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, not a coup. Well, people have been clamoring for an uprising of a sort to happen. As whether that is a coup, like what is going on in the West African sub-region, or we're not very sure of it. However, one thing that I know for sure is that the e-levy will change things. The e-levy will change things. Okay, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's move on to other parts of the world. Nothing very promising in peace talks with Ukraine so far. President Putin, spokesman, says, following updates there, he said nothing very promising in peace talks with Ukraine so far. President Putin's spokesman says. So what promise do they want? What do they actually want as a statement to say that is promising for them? Okay, it says that peace talks did not offer any breakthroughs. Russia is saying. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has been briefing the media on the talks held with Ukraine in Turkey yesterday and played down any hopes of a breakthrough. Yesterday, Russia said it intended to scale back its military activity in Kyiv and Chernihiv and Ukraine, and said it will consider becoming a neutral. Ukraine said it will consider becoming a neutral state. What is positive is that the Ukrainian side has at least started to specifically formulating and putting on paper what it is proposing. Until now, we had not managed to achieve that, Peskov said. Now, as regards to the rest, we cannot put this way. At present state, there have been any breakthroughs, anything very promising, he said in remarks reported by the Interfax news agency. But sorry to say, it's been nearly 5 weeks since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Following negotiations yesterday, Russia announced it was going to drastically reduce military combat operation in the areas around the capital Kyiv and northern city of Chernihiv. But this was met with skepticism by the Ukrainians as well as the US and UK, who have said it should be treated with caution. But well, as you know, there were some attacks around these areas as well. It is all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, let's move on from there. Look at some of the other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world as well. Well, in the US, Trump's 6th January call logs show 7-hour gap. That's some information that's made around there. Official White House logs from 6th January 2021, the day the U.S. Capitol was breached by a mob of Donald Trump supporters, show a 7-hour and 37-minute gap in presidential phone activity while the assault was at its height. The bipartisan congressional committee investigating the attack had fought a lengthy legal battle to obtain the presidential records, which could shed light on the activity of the president and his closest aides on the day. The logs show the president contacting at least 8 people in the morning, including former White House advisor Stephen Bannon and former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who were both organizing attempts to overturn Mr. Trump's presidential defeat, according to records obtained by the CBC News. Now, it also records calls with 11 people in the evening, but they document no contact from 11:17 a.m. to 18:45 p.m. local time. That is 16:17 to 23:45 BST. This runs counter to accounts from several Republican members of Congress, including House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Senator Mike Lee of the Utah and Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, that they spoke with the president by phone that afternoon. The logs also do not show a reported late morning phone call between Mr. Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, where the latter again refused the president's increasingly angry demand to delay the certification of Joe Biden's presidential victory. It could be an indication that the president was communicating through unofficial channels such as an aid device or an undisclosed burner personal mobile phone. But well, it is all coming your way from Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right then, now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds. We've got about 60 minutes to bring the program to a close. Let me see whether I can touch on one other. Well, the President of the United States has signed an anti-lynching bill in historic first. The story says U.S. President Joe Biden has signed legislation that designates lynching as a federal hate crime. The law follows more than 100 years and 200 failed attempts by U.S. lawmakers to pass anti-lynching legislation. Now, the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act is named for the black teenager whose brutal murder in Mississippi in 1955 helped spark the civil rights movement. The perpetrators of lynching, death or injury resulting from a hate crime will face up to 30 years in jail, Mr. Biden said. Thank you for never giving up, never giving up. And he continues to say lynching was pure terror to enforce the lie that not everyone belongs in America. Not everyone is created equal. He added, racial hate isn't an old problem. It's a persistent problem. Hate never goes away. It only hides. How true is that? Well, it is Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, gunmen have behind a cockpit massacre hid in a cheap van. Okay, I've got Kofi. I'll just pick a quick one from him and then I'll continue to bring you the other updates. Hello, Kofi. Good morning.
Yes. I'm aware we don't have time today, being Wednesday, to go for the Prime Minister's speech. Yeah. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. You?
Frank, Kojo, and
yeah.
Olayomi.
Yeah, everyone is doing good. Yeah.
Yes. Yesterday, I came up with what do you call it? There was a case I was making regarding the what do you call it? Regarding the way we do things. And then somebody, I mean, it's Kojo who said, "Oh, should we go and call the white people to come back?" I don't know whether you recall that.
Yes, I did.
Of course, it's a question that some people might be confused about. I'm the last person who says the white man must come back. Well, the white man is gone and he's gone for good, and we want to make sure he go and never come back again. That's why we declare a republic so that they will be gone for good. However, like the Americans. You see, when we are doing away with our, whether it's our enemy or our opponent, of course, there's a reason why we are doing that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But the contention sometimes, the reason, if we are doing it for racial reasons, when the person is gone, we'll be so happy with our skin color and we sit down, doing what we were doing before we were caught as, captured in the first place. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
But if we understand the great things that person was doing, and probably the presence of the person is part of the reason why we can't do it. Probably the person is cheating. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
The Americans, the Australians, the New Zealanders, they saw, when they were asking for independence, especially the Americans, they saw the Europeans, the British in particular, as cheats. Can you see? They are marginalizing them. But the way they do things, those people took it serious. Today, they are as great as them. Is that not true?
Yeah.
For us, when we drove away the colonial masters, what did we do? We then go back and be proud of what we are. What we were before they came to catch us like chickens. They put chain on, whatever they did to us. Is that not true?
Mm-hmm.
If that thing is still happening to us now, the only difference is that instead of Charles McCarthy, there is Buhari there. That's the only difference. Instead of George Bush, there are the Dankwa there. That's all. Apart from that, crappy crap. Look at it. The thing they say this e-levy thing they pass. If you understand the meaning of this e-levy, the only thing behind this e-levy is what? The country is broke. There is no money. Whatever we will do to milk blood out of people, we are going to do. We don't care whether you are Kaya Yo or you are Kaya Man. We will milk, because democracy, politics is business. Government officials have to be paid. Is that not true?
Yeah.
If Adodankwa is going to travel into the sky, whether it's going to use donkey or it's going to use chicken or it's going to use private jet, who is going to pay for it? Is it his money?
Nope.
You and I. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Buhari was here for hospital care. Who paid for it? Olayomi.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see? I think it is time we start becoming wiser. Can you see? In the last report, while my brother was reporting, because we want to do things our way, he said, and they were talking about a lady who I think is a medical doctor, and she happened to find herself, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And she was making phone contact, isn't it?
Yeah.
The comment is that if your family call you when you are in trouble, do you have your family calling you when you are in trouble? Can your family call you when you are in trouble? Eh? You are in trouble. Oh, sorry. Your family is someone is in trouble, and the person call you, and you are related to the person, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Eh? The person is not your family. The person is your family member. Can you see the technicality there? Let us understand, if we have to do this thing, let us do it right. We can't do this thing anyhow and get it right. It's not my language, so I can speak it the way I like. All of us are listening. We are not talking. We are listening to learn from those who have got the wisdom and the time to teach us. But that role of leadership, they shouldn't take us for granted. I don't know whether you see where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be personal. I hate being personal on issues. And I hate being trivial on issues. For some time, it is these small issues. Like in Ghana, a member of parliament is not well. There is going to be voting. Do we allow proxy voting or we don't allow proxy voting? If there's no proxy voting, so everyone must be present, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And vote, because there is a place where they say present, count the number, you determine the majority by those who are present. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we think it's a problem, why don't we change that part of the law? Rather, you go and get someone on a trolley from the hospital in an ambulance on a stretcher, and then push them into the parliament house to vote. What kind of voting is it? And another saying that no, we disagree, we are working on. We are just doing things anyhow. If we are learning, I think we are getting what we are learning wrong.
Okay, baby, quick. We need to run up. Quick.
So on a lighter note, if we don't know what we are doing, like the Jamaicans will say, if you don't know where you are going to, the road will lead you there. The road will take you to where the road is going to, and you might end up in hell. We are tired of what we are going through. We are tired. It is time cool-headed people get up. NDC, MPP, they are a mess. Let us get a solution behind this and get people who know what they are doing to give us a solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kofi Ali. Thank you. Well, listeners, that was Mr. Kofi Ali Abdul Yakin adding his comment to the discussions that we'll be having today. Now, moving on straight to one other story before we go to the Houses of Parliament from Australia. Australian Prime Minister's own senator calls him autocrat and a bully. You remember what happened here when the former Speaker of Parliament have been also labelled as a bully, or have been found to be a bully as well. An Australian government senator has accused Prime Minister Scott Morrison of being an autocrat and a bully with no moral compass. Now, Conservator Vivian Wells launched a blistering attack on her party leader in a Senate speech late today. Now, it came moments after the government unveiled the federal budget, its key pitch to win re-election in May. Mr. Morrison dismissed the senator's criticism, arguing she was disgruntled about her own career. Ms. Feravanti Wells, a senator for 17 years, is unlikely to be re-elected after losing a battle for a prominent spot on the Liberal Party's ticket. Now, in a lengthy speech to the chamber, she argued that the Prime Minister had destroyed their party by eschewing process and installing his favoured candidates. In a quote, she said, "In my public life, I have met ruthless people. Morrison tops the list. Morrison is not fit to be Prime Minister," she said. Do you think that is going to dent the image of their party and maybe their when it comes to the elections, they rather falling beneath what is expected of them? What do you think about that? It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Don't you worry, I'll make sure we land before everybody before we join the Houses of Parliament. So I'm running very fast, I promise you. Now, when it comes to other stories making the rounds, in China, residents in Shanghai are scrambling to stock up on supplies while thousands quarantine in offices as lockdown rolls out in divided city. After weeks of isolated compound lockdowns, the city of 25 million have been split into two. Earlier this week, those living in Shanghai eastern half were told to stay home, with the western half due to enter a lockdown on Friday. The move comes as the city battles a surge in Omicron COVID cases. The city has reported around 20,000 COVID-19 infections since 1st of March, registering more cases in 4 weeks than the previous 2 years of the pandemic. Okay, but yesterday I was talking to a friend who works in the health sector and was saying that, look, infection rates are going up. And I said, well, how is it affecting hospitalization? They reckon that hospitalization is going up, but I don't think it's up to the rate at which we were seeing early parts of this pandemic. So, what do you think? Well, so coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. One last story before we go to the Houses of Parliament for the PMQ. And that pertains to China as well. Now, China, late last week, a proposed security treaty between China and a tiny chain of islands in the Pacific sent shockwaves across the ocean. The leaked draft signaled that China could deploy troops to the Solomon Islands and potentially establish a naval base there. Nowhere was more alarmed than Solomon's neighbor to the south, Australia. The bedrock regional partner of the AUKUS alliance, a new security pact in the Pacific Ocean with the US and UK. The details of the deal are still uncertain, but even if it is smaller than the feared military base, it will be China's first foothold in the Pacific, says Professor Alan Gengel. Now, from the Australian Institute of International Affairs, the Solomon Islands and Australia have long been interlinked since World War II. Australia has been the island's largest aid donor, development partner, until now the sole security partner. Now, Australia's government was rocked and likely blindsided by the move, and analysts say. Not that it hadn't been warned 5 years ago. Canberra sensed that China was encroaching on its backyard with Solomon's internal politics at the time, also driving up Chinese loans and economic investment. They brought them straight on. Now that prompted Canberra to push back with a step-up policy where it refocused attention on its Pacific family and ramped up its own aid flows. But China's elevation to security partner status alongside Australia clearly exposes how Canberra's engagement policy has failed, analysts have said. And that is where I bring the update to a close. Wife of Ethiopian abducted in Kenya wants answers. What next for the African students who fled Ukraine? Well, you want to know more? Make sure the answer is so logged on Starr Radio UK, because tomorrow we're going to continue with that discussion. Yes, by this afternoon, we're taking you straight to the House of Parliament for the Prime Minister's Question Time, and God willing, tomorrow morning as well, we'll bring you another edition of the morning show. But remember, 18 hours BST, British Summertime, same as 18 hours in Nigeria as well. We will be bringing you Niger Voices with Mr. Olayomi Kweki. And as I said, the question is, who should be held responsible for security in Nigeria? Government, your family, your state, who? All right then. So on that note, let me say it's been a pleasure coming your way. I'll see you all tomorrow, God willing. But don't you go away. Stay tuned. Prime Minister's Question Time.
To the Falkland Islands and celebrate a Margaret Thatcher Day.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I personally would be very supportive of a Margaret Thatcher Day, but I think that is probably more a question for the Prime Minister than for myself. But my honourable friend will know that all parties actually do quite a lot to support women into elected office, and I think that that's something that we can agree across the House is a very important thing to continue.
Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I would like to point out that the British Sign Language interpretation of proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. Now we start with questions to Prime Minister. Gareth Davis.
Number one, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House will have read the statement today from my honourable friend, the member for Bridgend. And I know that the House stands with you and will give you the support that you need to live freely as yourself. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank Donna Ockenden and her whole team for the compassionate approach she's taken throughout this distressing review of maternity care at Shrewsbury and Telford Hospitals NHS Trust. Every woman giving birth has the right to a safe birth, and my heart, therefore, goes out to the families for the distress and suffering that they've endured. My right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Health, will be making an oral statement this afternoon setting out the government's response. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Gareth Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While our focus is rightly on Ukraine, the Prime Minister will be aware of the great concern many people have across the Baltic states. So can he outline the role the Joint Expeditionary Force can play in countering Russian aggression and improving defensive posture for our allies in the Baltics?
Prime Minister.
I thank him very much, and the Joint Expeditionary Force, or the JEF, is an increasingly important grouping of the Nordic countries, the Baltic countries, the Dutch and ourselves, who are committed to working together in an active way to counter Russian aggression and to support our Ukrainian friends. And we had a very successful meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we'll have further such meetings in the course of the next few weeks.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I start by joining the Prime Minister in his remarks in relation to the honourable member for Bridgend? Does the Prime Minister still think that he and the Chancellor are tax-cutting Conservatives?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I certainly do, because I certainly do, because this is the government that has just introduced not only the biggest cut in fuel duty ever, but the biggest cut in tax for working people in the last 10 years, Mr. Speaker. 70% of the population paying national insurance contribution will have a substantial tax cut as a result of what the Chancellor did. And if you take together, they don't like it, Mr. Speaker, it's true. They always put up taxes. That's why. We cut taxes. They love it. They love putting up taxes. But if you take together what we're doing with income tax and national insurance, it's the biggest tax cut proposed by my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, for 25 years.
Keir Starmer.
Cut the nonsense and treat the British people with a bit of respect. Let me take him through this slowly. 15 tax rises, the highest tax burden for 70 years. For every £6 they're taking in tax rises, they're only handing £1 back. Prime Minister, is that cutting taxes or is that raising taxes?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't know where he's been for the last 2 years. But even by the standards of yes, he has. Even by the standards of Captain Hindsight, Mr. Speaker, to obliterate the biggest pandemic for the last century from his memory, to obliterate the $408 billion that we've had to spend to look after people up and down the country is quite extraordinary. And this is a government that is getting on with reducing the tax burden wherever we can. What we are doing, Mr. Speaker, there's one measure I think he should be supporting, and that's the health and care levy, Mr. Speaker, to fund our NHS. That's the one they oppose, Mr. Speaker. Every other tax rise, they're all in favour of.
Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, I can only hope that his police questionnaire was a bit more convincing than that. This year, British people face the worst fall in living standards on record. While they're counting every penny, the Prime Minister is hitting them with higher taxes. But in 2024, when there just so happens to be a general election, they will introduce a small tax cut. That's not taking difficult decisions. It's putting the Tory re-election campaign over and above helping people pay their bills. How did he find a Chancellor as utterly cynical as he is?
Prime Minister.
What we have, Mr. Speaker, is a Chancellor who took the tough decisions to look after the UK economy throughout the pandemic, who protected people up and down the land with £408 billion worth of support, Mr. Speaker. And by the way, if we listen to them, if we listen to Captain, this is the truth. If we listen to Captain Hindsight, we would not have come out of lockdown in July last year, Mr. Speaker. We would have stayed in lockdown over Christmas and New Year, Mr. Speaker, with the result that the UK economy would not be growing in the way that it is, and so we would not be able to make the investments that we now are. And under Labour, we would have to tax more and borrow more, and they cannot be trusted, Mr. Speaker, with the economy.
Keir Starmer.
The tough decisions. Give me a break. We know, Mr. Speaker, we know who those two always ask to pay. Income stealth tax, a tax on working people. Tuition fee raid, a tax on working people. National insurance hike, a tax on working people. All while oil and gas companies see unexpected bumper profits. A windfall tax would raise billions and ease the burden on working people. Mr. Speaker, the former CEO of BP, Lord John Brown, says a windfall tax is justifiable. The current CEO says they have, in his words, more cash than they know what to do with. Why is the Prime Minister more interested in shielding oil and gas profits than supporting working people?
Mr. Speaker, it's a classic example of what Labour has got wrong in their period in office. The oil and gas companies are now investing £20 billion, Mr. Speaker, in ensuring that we have long-term energy supplies. And I remember the 1997 Labour manifesto actually said that there was no economic case for more nuclear power. We are now having to make good the historic mistakes of the Labour Party by investing in our long-term energy supply. That is what we're doing. Everything that they are proposing would mean deterring investment, meaning higher prices for consumers and households up and down the land being worse off.
Speaker, there we have it. They're the party of excess oil and gas profits. We're the party of working people. Mr. Speaker, talking of parties, Prime Minister, he told the House no rules were broken in Downing Street during lockdown. The police have now concluded there was widespread criminality. The Ministerial Code says that ministers who knowingly mislead the House should resign. Why is he still here?
Hang on a minute. He's just changed his position. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. I mean, we do at least expect some consistency from this human weather vane. It was only a week or so ago where he was saying that I shouldn't resign. He's got to make what is his position, Mr. Speaker? The investigators must get on with their job. But in the meantime, In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we are going to get on with our job. And what we are focusing on is tackling the cost of living, helping people through the spike in fuel prices, the 9.1 billion that the Chancellor has set out, but also, Mr. Speaker, I've mentioned nuclear power, I've mentioned tackling our energy supplies, which Labour totally failed to deal with. What we're also doing, far more important perhaps even than that, Mr. Speaker, we're tackling illiteracy and innumeracy in our schools. And I think we're investing billions in tutoring, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're focusing on, and I think that's what the people of this country want us to focus on.
Here's Starmer.
Look, there are only two possible explanations. Either he's trashing the Ministerial Code, or he's claiming he was repeatedly lied to by his own advisers and that he didn't know what was going on in his own house and his own office. Come off it. He really does think that it's one rule for him and another rule for everyone else. That he can pass off criminality in his office and ask others to follow the law. That he can keep raising taxes and call himself a tax cutter. That he can hike tax during a cost of living crisis and get credit for giving a bit back just before an election. When is he going to stop taking the British public for fools?
Mr. Speaker, this is the leader of the opposition who would have kept this country in lockdown and made it absolutely impossible. He has zero consistency on any issue, Mr. Speaker. But one thing we know about is he would like to take us back into the EU and take us back into lockdown if he possibly could. thanks to what this government has done, we have unemployment back down to the levels it was before the pandemic. The economy bigger than it was. We have record vacancies, Mr. Speaker. The difference between them and us is they want to keep people, Mr. Speaker, they want to keep people on benefits. We want to help people into work. And that's what we're doing in record numbers. They want to raise taxes. We want to cut taxes. And that's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. And we're tackling illiteracy. They didn't give a damn, Mr. Speaker. We're getting on with making this country the best place to invest. Last time I updated the House, Mr. Speaker, on the number of unicorns that we had of unicorns in this country. That's tech countries worth more than $1 billion, Mr. Speaker. I said we had 100. I can inform you now, Mr. Speaker, that we now have 120. They don't want to hear it, but let me tell you, that's more than France, that's more than Germany, that's more than Israel, it's more than France, Germany, Israel combined, Mr. Speaker. That's what's happening under this government. That's what's happening because of the tough decisions we've taken. We take the tough decisions, we deliver, they play politics, Mr. Speaker.
Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The UK government's work connecting rural areas like Brecon and Radnorshire to super-fast broadband is going to become a lot harder tomorrow when the Welsh Government withdraws its matched funding for the scheme, forcing the cost for installation back onto homes and businesses in my constituency. Welsh Labour's decision means that my constituents will lose out as local authorities in England continue to fund the scheme. Does my right honourable friend agree with me that broadband is critical for the growth of the rural economy? And will he double his government's efforts to connect my constituents despite Welsh Labour letting us down?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and we're spending £69 million already to support rollout of superfast broadband in Wales, and I wish that the Welsh Government had not withdrawn its broadband scheme, but we will do our best, Mr. Speaker, to make up the difference as fast as possible.
We now come to the SNP leader, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's good to see the member for Bridgend in the chamber this afternoon. I commend him for his statement earlier today. Mr. Speaker, last night, millions of families will have been desperately trying to figure out how they will possibly afford the £700 energy price hike that will hit them this Friday. Mr. Speaker, at the very same time, Tory MPs were gathering across the street for a champagne bash in the Park Plaza. We all know that the Tories partied during lockdown and now they're...
Mr. Fabricant, Easter is upon us. I don't need you to ruin your Easter. So let's hear, all of you, SNP leader Ian Blackford.
You can shout and scream when we're raising the Tory cost of living crisis, Mr. Speaker. Because we all know that the Tories partied during lockdown and now they're partying through the cost of living emergency. Last week, the Chancellor got it badly wrong with the spring statement. And ever since, the Prime Minister has been busy briefing against him, saying that more needs to be done. For once, I agree with the Prime Minister. So, if the Prime Minister really believes that more needs to be done, can he tell us exactly what he will order his Chancellor to do to help the millions of families who are facing a £700 price hike this Friday?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank him very much, and he is. I think he's in error in what he says about events last night. But he is, like me, a living testament to the benefits of moderation in all things, Mr. Speaker. And I can assure him I can assure him that we are getting that this week, for instance, to get to his point, what's happening actually is that the living wage is going up again by record amounts, and thanks to what the Chancellor has done, we are putting £9.1 billion into helping people up and down the country. And what I might respectfully suggest is actually, I think the Scottish Nationalist government, with whom, as I say, we work increasingly well, I think the thing they could focus on for the long-term prosperity of Scotland is the educational system, where I'm sad to see Scotland's once glorious record falling behind.
Here, Blackford.
What a load of absolute baloney.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is dangerously out of touch. Food banks are warning that people are having to choose their food based on whether they can afford the gas to boil it.
Yep.
Families are having to choose what rooms to heat or whether they can turn on the heating at all. Some in the Tory cabinet clearly believe that better weather means that they can happily sit on their hands and do nothing till next winter. They obviously don't get or don't care that in many parts of Scotland the weather will barely reach above freezing over the next week.
Yep.
The Chancellor thinks his £200 loan, which is forcing people into energy debt, is somehow a solution, but it clearly isn't. So before the Prime Minister and his Chancellor go off on their Easter holidays, will they at very least turn this loan into a grant and finally put some cash into people's pockets when they need it right now?
Prime Minister.
I thank him, but of course we are doing everything that we can. The 9.1 billion, the cold weather payments, and he's right to draw attention to the problem, Mr. Speaker. And we are making huge investments in supporting people right now, and another £1 billion, by the way, through the Household Support Fund to help vulnerable families. But Mr. Speaker, when he talks about the cost of energy in Scotland, how absolutely preposterous that the Scottish Nationalist Party should still be opposed to the use of any of our native hydrocarbons in this country, with the result that we actually have to that the Europeans are importing oil and gas from Putin's Russia, Mr. Speaker. It's totally absurd.
It's true. Just for the record, it's National Party. Let's go to Mark Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following on from the publication of the school's white paper, one of my most important campaigns is to secure provision of quality post-16 education within the Bolsover constituency, where there is currently none. Young people in my constituency have to travel long distances at considerable cost to access their education. Will my right honourable friend meet with me to discuss how we can right this wrong for the young people of the Bolsover constituency and give them the education that they deserve?
Prime Minister.
Yes. I thank him very much, and he's a great champion for Bolsover and for his constituents. Free and subsidised travel is provided to Bolsover students travelling so far to two of the three excellent colleges that are going to be offering T-levels from 2023. But I will make sure that he gets a meeting with my right honourable friend, the Education Secretary, to discuss further what we can do.
And David.
During the Second World War, my grandmother, like countless other people across our country, opened her home to evacuees, including 2 German Jewish boys. Over 70 years later, the British people want to shelter desperate refugees again. 2 weeks ago, I was speaking to refugee families on the Ukrainian-Polish border at Medyka. Some desperately wanted to come to our country. One elderly couple told me, however, they'd been told that it's just too complicated. Now the government's own figures say the same. Paperwork is being put ahead of people. Mr. Speaker, when wealthy businessmen from over 50 countries can come to the UK visa-free, why does the Prime Minister insist that a traumatised Ukrainian mother and child must first fill out a visa form?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think I'm thanking him very much, and he's right about the generosity of his country, and he's right to draw attention to his own family's generosity in this matter. Everybody, I think, is pulling together. The number of people who have come forward to offer their homes is incredible. But I really don't think that he should he should deprecate what the UK is offering. We've already given 25,000 people have already got visas, Mr. Speaker. We are processing 1,000 a day. 1,000 a day, and there is no limit, there is no upper limit to the number that we can take. And this is a country that has already been the most generous in taking people from Afghanistan, the 15,000 under Operation Pitting, 104,000 applications from the Hong Kong Chinese. This is a country that is overwhelmingly generous to people coming in fear of their lives from, yes it is, Mr. Speaker, and so is this government.
Johnny Mercer. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I don't think anybody involved in partnering operations over the last 10 or 20 years can fail to be humbled by the extraordinary courage and commitment of the Ukrainian people in defending their country, aided and abetted by the lethal aid from this country, of which they're all appreciative of this government and this Prime Minister being first out the door to deliver that. But would the Prime Minister agree with me that whilst others may now begin to tire, now is actually the time to double down on the aid that we give to Ukraine, that actually we might end up breaking a pretty poor Russian army and bring peace to that part of the world whilst consigning the likes of Vladimir Putin to the dustbin of history where he belongs?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think that is absolutely right. Thank him very much. I thank him for his own bravery in going to see for himself only the other day. But, Mr. Speaker, yes, it is right that we should double down on military defensive support in the way that we are. And by the way, can anybody imagine a Labour government, eight of whose front bench voted to get rid of our nuclear deterrent? Can you imagine? Yes, they did. Can you imagine recently? Can you imagine them doing the same? We will go on with that, Mr. Speaker. But what we will also do, and I hope we have the support of the opposition in this, is make sure that there is no backsliding on sanctions by any of our friends and partners around the world. In fact, we need now to ratchet up the economic pressure on Vladimir Putin, and it is certainly inconceivable that any sanctions could be taken off simply because there is a ceasefire, Mr. Speaker. That would be absolutely unthinkable, in my view.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Households are experiencing soaring energy costs. We're in the middle of a global climate emergency. Against this backdrop, Norway can feed energy into our national grid at a cost of £1.36 per megawatt hour. France pays 17 pence per megawatt hour. Germany, the Netherlands and Luxembourg pay nothing to feed into our group. Can the Prime Minister then explain why Scotland's renewable sector has been punished with grid connection charges of £7.36 per megawatt hour?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Scotland's renewable sector is leading the world, and I'm grateful to all the Scottish Government for all the help and support that they are giving in developing that incredible resource in the North Sea. I think that there is also a role, by the way, for hydrocarbons as we transition, Mr. Speaker. But what we need to do is make sure that we have a grid. That enables us to take that electricity onshore and transmit it around the country. And that is what I will be setting out in the British energy security strategy, Mr. Speaker. That is the investment, the long-term investment that this country needs, and which the parties opposite completely failed to address.
Greg Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, following a huge resident and parish council-led campaign, the planning application for a new mega prison in my constituency was refused. But would my right honourable friend agree that with the proposals for that site being very close to where HS2 and East West Rail cross, this is a matter of fairness, whereby communities already suffering at the hands of the construction of big state infrastructure should not be asked to take more, and will he instruct the Ministry of Justice not to appeal this planning decision?
Minister.
I thank my honourable friend, who is a doughty campaigner for his constituency. He's made an important point about a planning matter about which I don't think I should really comment, but I'm sure that the relevant ministers will have heard him loud and clear.
Eric Linden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the government losing an estimated £4 billion to fraud in the furlough scheme, Surely the Prime Minister should have tackled that fraud, especially when, in his own party in North Tyneside, furlough was claimed for a member of party staff, even though he continued to work.
Prime Minister.
If she's really saying, Mr. Speaker, that we should not have rolled out the furlough scheme at the speed that we did, then I think everybody in this country understands that it was a heroic thing. And I remember 2 years ago, Mr. Speaker, they were yammering and clamouring for us to go faster. And we did, Mr. Speaker. We produced a fantastic scheme. And yes, fraudsters will be hunted down. We put another 100 million into tracking down fraud in this country. £23 billion a year were lost under Labour in fraud.
James Sunderland.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I was delighted to learn this week that 37 of the 39 state schools in Bracknell constituency are now graded good or outstanding. Will the Prime Minister join with me in thanking our fantastic teachers, staff, governors and pupils? And does he agree that the new Education White Paper offers a blueprint for our schools that we can all be proud of?
Yes, I do, Mr. Speaker. I think it's a fantastic white paper.
Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over 2 million tonnes of edible food is wasted on farms and factories every year, and funding was introduced in 2019 to cover the costs of getting food to charities to reach those in need. However, the Prime Minister will know his government have now cut that critical funding to zero. Mr. Speaker, funding for food waste diversion helps support community projects like, for example, Three Hills Community Supermarket in Glasgow. So can the Prime Minister explain why he's ignoring calls from Feeding Britain, Good Food Scotland and Fair Share to continue this worthwhile initiative and instead cutting off a lifeline to those struggling with the cost of living crisis?
Prime Minister.
I thank you very much. I think he's referring to the strategy that we have for food waste. As far as I know, we continue to support it, but I will be happy to update him by letter.
Lucy Allen.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for his earlier remarks concerning the Donna Ockenden report into avoidable maternity deaths and injuries at the Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital Trust. The report makes for devastating reading, the more so because women's voices were ignored. My constituent Hayley Matthews begged staff for a C-section throughout her 36-hour labour, but was forced into a natural birth. Her son Jack arrived blue and floppy, and within hours of his birth he tragically died. Will the Prime Minister join me in offering heartfelt sympathies to all the families affected, and also grateful thanks to the 1,862 women who shared their experiences with the Ockenden Review to ensure that maternity care is safer, kinder and more compassionate for the women that come after them?
Prime Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for her question. I think everybody will thank the women concerned for taking up the issue in the way that that they have, and will extend our heartfelt sympathies to the victims and their families for what they've suffered. It is very important that people get the answers that they deserve, Mr. Speaker, but also that we have the right approach to this issue in the future, and that's why we're investing very substantially in maternity services, and also, of course, very substantially in midwives and in our NHS altogether.
Sir Chairman.
Thank you. Prime Minister, every day I hear from more and more of my Rotherham constituents who are struggling to put food on the table, to keep their lights on, to fuel their cars. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates the government's measures will only offset falling living standards by a third. This is the biggest financial squeeze since the 1950s. Prime Minister, don't blame Ukraine, don't blame COVID. This is down to your government's policies and your political choices. Sleep at night.
Well, I do agree that people are facing a very tough time at the moment, and we've got to do everything that we... I don't agree with her analysis, but I think that the causes are certainly to do with the inflationary impact of the world coming out of COVID, and the energy price spike is at the root of it. And what we are doing, Mr. Speaker, is to help people with a universal credit, which we've lifted by £1,000, help people with the living wage, which is going up now by a record amount, Mr. Speaker, and cutting taxes on working people in the way that we are. But of course we can't do everything, Mr. Speaker, right now. And what we will do is ensure that we have a stronger economic performance and we have people in work. And the most important thing is that we have people getting into work now in a way that wasn't possible, and certainly wouldn't have been possible if we'd stuck to the policies that were proposed by the Labour opposition. And that's why we have a strong economy, and that is the best recipe. Better to be off benefits and into work, and that's what we're doing.
Neil Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of my earliest campaigns was to reopen Stafford's Shire Hall, so I'm delighted that this iconic building is finally set to reopen this summer. So can I thank the government for providing £1.6 million in funding to create a hub for small businesses in the Shire Hall. But can I also ask my honourable friend to help regenerate the rest of Stafford Town Centre and our high streets to help level up the West Midlands and support our local businesses?
Prime Minister.
I thank my honourable friend for her fantastic work to reopen Shire Hall. She's a passionate campaigner for Stafford, and Stafford was awarded over £14 million lately, Mr. Speaker, through the Future High Streets Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituency has one of the highest rates of child poverty in the entire country, with too many already struggling between heating and eating. The government's recent real terms social security cut will now push even more families, children and pensioners into desperation. Does the Prime Minister agree that the biggest squeeze in household finances since records began does not come out of the blue, but is due to conservative economics and the notion that while some have the pleasure of partying, the rest of us should suffer?
That's right. Prime Minister.
No, Mr. Speaker, we're absolutely dedicated to levelling up across our entire country and making sure that we reduce poverty, and that's why I'm proud that there are now 500,000 fewer kids actually in workless households, 200,000 fewer kids, 200,000 fewer in poverty, Mr. Speaker, and 1.3 million fewer in absolute poverty. And the way we've done that, the way we've done that, Mr. Speaker, is by helping people into work. And we're going to go further, investing in more work coaches, massively increasing our training budget so that people get the skills that they need. That's our approach, Mr. Speaker, helping people by getting them into work.
Sir Robert Butland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's announcement by our serving United Kingdom judges of their withdrawal from the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal is now the right decision, and I support it, as does my right honourable friend. Does he agree with me that on this sad day for the people of Hong Kong, and at a time when the international rule of law is under unprecedented challenge, it is for us here in Britain to stand up for what is right, to be resolute in the face of tyranny, and to make sure that the international rules-based order is defended at every opportunity?
Prime Minister.
I thank my right honourable friend very much, and I know how passionately he's campaigned on this issue himself, and I can tell him that, and I want to thank the judges in Hong Kong's court for everything that they've been doing, but I think that they've evidently concluded that the constraints of the national security law make it impossible for them to continue to serve in the way that they would want. I appreciate and I understand their decision. It is vital that we all continue to make our points to the Chinese, as I did in my conversation with President Xi the other day, about freedom in Hong Kong and about the treatment of the Uyghurs, and we will continue to do that.
Catherine West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Gas and electric prices and bills are through the roof. The just about managing are no longer managing, coming to surgeries, queuing at food banks. Last week, the government had a golden opportunity to tackle this. Why the devil didn't they take that opportunity to do something and relieve the pressure on our constituents?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I understand the pressure that people are under, but the best thing we can do, rather than endlessly taxing more and borrowing more, is make sure that we support people through this tough time, which we are, but also ensure that we have a strong and growing economy in which we get people into work. So we're cutting the cost of energy, but we're also taking the long-term decisions, which the party opposite failed to do, to invest in our energy for the future.
Sir Roger Gale.
Mr. Speaker, today's updated government figures show that of 28,300 applications submitted under the sponsorship scheme by people displaced in Putin's war, just 2,700 have been processed. Could my right honourable friend please tell the House how many to date of those people have actually arrived in the United Kingdom? And will he give his support to my noble friend Lord Harrington to cut through the Home Office red tape, simplify the application process and get people into the country?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're processing 1,000 a day, and I think that the country 25,000 visas have already been issued. As I just told the House, Mr. Speaker, almost 200,000 families, homes have opened their arms to Ukrainians coming in fear of their lives, and there is no limit on the scheme, Mr. Speaker. I think we can be incredibly proud of what the UK is doing.
Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A cornerstone of the last Conservative manifesto was a guarantee that the basic state pension would rise by either 2.5%, the inflation rate, or earnings growth, whichever was highest. Instead, from April, the state pension will rise by less than half of the current inflation rate. How does the Prime Minister explain this abject betrayal of some of the most vulnerable people in our communities, who are squeezed by rocketing energy and food prices on the one hand and the miserliness of this government on the other?
Prime Minister.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, what we've done is, through the triple lock, protected pensioners so that their incomes as a result of the triple lock are £720 higher than they would have been if we just relied on inflation. As it is, their incomes continue to increase with inflation, and they've gone up, Mr. Speaker, faster and further than those who are in work. We look after elderly people, and we always will.
John Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Monday, the Foreign Secretary agreed that we needed to expand our soft power capabilities in these uncertain times, and yet the government is imminently about to make a funding decision that may see the closure of British Council country operations and a reduction in its international footprint. Will the Prime Minister now intervene to ensure this doesn't happen, given that I know he understands and appreciates the important work the Council does?
Prime Minister.
I'm very happy to meet my honourable friend on this issue, and he's campaigned on it many times. But I can tell him that the British Council, for which I have a huge regard, has received massive grant and indeed loans to allow them to continue their activities.
Matt Weston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You'll forgive me if I may start, but given the Prime Minister's preferences for both fancy castles and Peppa Pig, he's very welcome to come and visit Zog Playland at Warwick Castle this week. In Warwick and Leamington, as across the country, cost of living crunch is really serious. Energy bills, as we've heard, looking to double by the end of this year. Food up 10 to 15% by year end. Fuel already 22% up year on year. It must be hard for the Prime Minister to stay in touch with financial reality, given that donors and friends pay for flights and holidays and many of his bills. And we also have a $200 million man chancellor, a $200 million chancellor, who's so out of touch, he's contactless. Mr. Speaker, the public believes...
You will be sitting down. So please. I hope we've come to the end of the question. Prime Minister.
So out of touch is contactless. Mr. Speaker, the public believes the government...
Shut up and be quiet. Behave yourselves. I hope that's the end of the question. I think the Prime Minister got the gist of it, because I certainly have. Prime Minister.
Can I say to the honourable gentleman, much as I admire his style, I think it'd be better as a sort of a light essay in The Guardian. What we're doing, Mr. Speaker, is tackling the cost of living by dealing with the spike in energy prices and making sure that we take the right long-term decisions to take this country forward, which right decisions that party opposite completely shirked.
Len Saxby.
Speaker, and I welcome what this government is doing to help where it can with the cost of living crisis. But in North Devon and across the South West, we have a housing crisis that needs urgent action. Will my right honourable friend meet with me to better understand the severity and complexity of our housing shortage and potential steps the government may take?
Prime Minister.
My honourable friend is absolutely right, and she's right about the need to provide local homes for local people. And we totally understand that, and I'm very, and that's why we're building a record number of homes, by the way, Mrs. Speaker, in spite of all the difficulties that we've faced, and that's why we've introduced higher rates of stamp duty on second homes, Mr. Speaker, remove the second homes discount, and we're using 11.5 billion to build 180,000 affordable homes across the country. It is always the Conservatives who build affordable homes. It's true, and it's Labour who talk about it.
Final question, Sir Olney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Last Friday, it emerged there's been an oil spill in Beverley Brook, a river which flows through Richmond Park to the Thames. Black waste oil and iridescence can now be seen along 13 kilometres of the watercourse, posing a serious threat to the fish and local wildlife. The Environment Agency are investigating, but they are understaffed and underfunded, while also battling against water companies over sewage discharge. Will the government commit to strengthening the powers of the Office for Environmental Protection, as the Lib Dems tried to do through the Environment Bill, so that it is able to hold the government and other public authorities to account over environmental damage in the same way the European Commission was able to?
Prime Minister.
I know what's behind her question, Mr. Speaker. It's a desire to return to the jurisdiction of the European Union. What we want to do is make sure that we use our landmark Environment Bill to continue to improve the quality of our rivers, and that's what we're doing.
We'll just let the chamber clear before we start the statement.